Good morning, everyone. Today's post is in relation to some AI stocks and also one of the stocks releasing its earnings report later this week. I think we actually did make a video on this stock a few days back, VTEX, but we'll go over the stocks that are on the list at the moment and the reasons for what we feel is the way forward on these stocks. As I say, it's not financial advice. It's just our own opinion based on our own research and analytical data. First, you've got ATOR Lifestyle Holdings, ATAT. Okay, so we're just going to revert to the monthly chart for a moment, and we've got some markings. There we go. Right. So, ATAT, fundamentally and financially, it's had a good year, and it's also having a good quarter. And this is starting to reflect in the price action on the charts. As you can clearly see, we had a reversal at the fair value of about $43 in November, sort of December time, and the same again in January. And we're beginning to sort of rise up towards those levels at the moment, with the closing prices on a 50-day being tested, 20-day being supported, and the volume price at the moment is being supported with the price closing above. So if we go to the weekly, to zoom out a little bit, we can see that price action beginning to happen with the trend reversing. Roughly, I think it was the beginning of December, trend reversed, with investors beginning to take positions, which is obviously starting to push the price up. And we've got some good bullish intent on the candle forming. Hammer last week, or reverse hammer, obviously closing slightly below the previous week. However, there is still intent there. We do feel that this stock will rise again right up to $43, maybe even test $44 over the next 4 weeks. But you're looking at maybe a 10% return over the next 2 weeks on that stock if investors continue to support price. Okay, what have we got next? We have got TUYA, TUA. So TUA is a stock we've been watching now for roughly 3 months. Had a good quarterly report. Financially, for over the past financial year, it's done pretty well, and its financial year's report will be due up in the coming, I'd say, and I think it's actually next month. They're about to release their financial year's report. So in relation to price action at the moment, we've got a bullish intent in price closing above the 20-day, 50-day, and also the volume price. It's closing above the volume price at the moment. Volume is below average, but we'd still expect that price to reverse and test the levels of $2.42. So we're just going to zoom out on the weekly. I'm just going to bring that down a little bit. Okay, so as you can clearly see at the moment, there is a resistance level roughly around at $2.42. However, the stock is currently priced fair value around $3.75. Analysts are probably similar. As I say, this is our own opinion based on price. This is we don't take into account any other analysts' data. However, we do reference them and look at them. We're not far off with our own valuation. So price action has turned bullish. The reversal did happen roughly 3 weeks ago, and we suspect that price action will continue upwards to a new trend, testing $2.42 over the next coming weeks, and then again rising and moving on upwards, shall we say, towards the fair value price, $3.75. At the moment, you're looking at, I'd say, 10% return if you were to take a position now. There may be a small retest of $2.05, or we suspect a small retest of $2.05, $2.10, which is roughly where the 20-day is at the moment. And then, as I say, continuing upwards. Next on the list, Calmine Foods, a stock we've been watching for a good number of weeks. I'd say even actually since early November. In fact, January it released its earnings report. So quite recently, we'd updated the data on Calmine Foods. And the reason for that is it had a really good quarterly momentum. So the quarterly report was as expected, if not better, which obviously the stock then gained momentum instantly, which is quite rare for a business to instantly gain momentum straight after. Usually we suspect, a small momentum on the day of the earnings report, maybe the following day, and then week 3 or 4, that's when stock begins to rise. And this one, literally, I think it was the following week. Yeah, it was the following week. It had a really bullish move, so that indicates to us really strong intent in investors taking positions on this stock. Roughly priced fairly around $107, $113, and last week's closing price tested the volume. Didn't close above the volume price, but it did test. And when we say volume price, by the way, we're talking about the weighted volume price. You may know it as the VWAP. Okay, so it did test and close near enough on par with the volume price, and closing above the 20 and the 50 day. And the 20 day has actually crossed the 50 day, showing again bullish intent on closing price. So what we expect to happen is potentially a retest of that 50 day this week, which is roughly around $83 at the moment, and then a continuation up towards $89, and then onwards up towards $100 over the next couple of weeks. And then finally, at the moment, we've got VTEX. As I say, we released this video last week, so I'm just going to quickly elaborate over VTEX. VTEX is it's a stock which is in the AI sector, technology sector. It's a competitor of Shopify over in Brazil, and it goes under the radar because it trades in a Brazilian currency, and the company is based in Brazil, so not well, shall we say, watched across the market. However, because it's going under the radar, it's a stock we've been watching since September, and although it's been hammered by tech over the last couple of months due to this AI fear factor among investors, which is rightly so, because even we don't really believe, we don't believe in AI. We just find that it's creating too much volatility, and if I'm being honest with you, it's putting a lot of people out of jobs. So how's that going to affect the job score over the next coming year, with AI just basically taking over, shall we say, the tech sector? So with that being said, VTEX is still a very well run business, okay, financially very secure, risk factor very low, loads of cash in the bank. It's just in the wrong sector at the wrong time, and we do expect this stock to reverse quite aggressively in the next 3 weeks. As I say, it's tested 3 weeks on the bounce, $3, can't break below, being supported at that level. Volume price at the moment closing slightly above volume price, but still closing below 20 and 50, which does show bearish intent. However, as I say, it's I think personally it's been part of the algo bots basically manipulating the market in the tech sector, forcing the stocks down. Maybe for the for those algo bots to now start taking positions. So they've taken out a lot of people. Say for example, you had a position, and a lot of your investing friends had a position on VTEX in small businesses, institutions, sorry, and you were then manipulated out of the market by these algo bots over the past 3 weeks because of AI, the fear factor. Now is the time to relook at VTEX to say, well, no, our data that we hold data on the stock. Our data on this stock still shows a very well run business. So we expect a reversal on this stock as investors step back in, and maybe these manipulating algo bots step back in to re-add to positions as they've taken out everyone else in that in this business, in the sector of technology. So with that being said, this week we do expect bullish intent to test that trend line you can see in blue there, breakthrough this week, maybe test $3.50 area excuse me, this week, and then continue rising. Roughly valued at the moment around $5.70, $5.90, but it's going to take a hell of a long time before the stock even gets to anywhere near that, because the ATR trading only at 17 cents per day. It tells us for it to get from $3 up to $5.70, you're looking at a $2.70 gain. It's going to take at least 2 months for it to get up to anywhere near $5.70, unless the float is absorbed quite aggressively by investors, to which case low float means aggressive volatility moves. And as I say, this is just a personal opinion. It could continue on downwards. You never know. But this is how our data tells us. This is the opinion that we hold on the stock, and this is what we see happening. So with that being said, thanks very much for watching. Take care. Best of luck for this week and the coming month.